All right, let's go. So, welcome to another episode of eCom Raw Reality, where we talk all things e-commerce, Shopify stores, Meta ads, Google ads, email marketing, whatever is more important. So, as you can see, still in beautiful Sardinia here, even though super hot. It's actually 2 p.m. So, UV rays probably at the highest, but we should finish this pretty quick. So, let's talk about the 7-figure brand playbook. So 7-figure basically means that a brand is over 1 million but still under 10 million, right? So that is not that hard to actually achieve, because if you think about it, it's around less than 100k a month, and in ecom that's not a huge number. So we're just talking ecom here, not info and so on. And as we know, in ecom, the profit margins can be, anywhere between minus 10% to 10, 20, maybe 25. But usually I would say in that 10 to 20% range is most typical. And one thing to note here is that if you are a 7-figure brand, right? 1 million, 10 million, in that range. That's honestly some of the best brands that I've worked with, still work with. And that's because it's a very sweet spot to be in, meaning that you're not so big that you need to bring in a huge amount of people, but also not so small that it's basically just you handling maybe the media buying, or you and the media buyer and maybe a creative strategist, right? Something like that. So that's why I would say it's a pretty nice spot, because there you have, let's say, maybe 5, 10, maybe more people, depending on freelancers and so on that you might work with. But as you can imagine, when you have on a team around 5 people, right? Everyone has at least 40 hours a week, let's say, right? With maybe the owner investing even more than that. So 40 hours a week multiplied by 5, you have like 200 hours a week, right? That comes to 800 a month. So a lot can happen with that time. But this is where both inefficiencies come in, but also the opportunity to actually do something amazing, because you have so much time, right? If you have multiple people. And then you definitely need everyone to be really good. But let's come back to like the stages, right? What do you actually need to be in the 7-figure range? Well, a good product for sure, right? If you don't have a product, you don't have anything to sell. So the product at that point, fortunately, is already, let's say, a proven winner, right? For example, for the dropshippers, if they test and they find something that's winning and then they scale it, of course, basically that's a winner, right? So the main thing is that you do have a good product, most likely. If you don't, it's unlikely that you'll be in the 7-figure range, or at least for long. And if you have a good product, that means that almost all of the effort should be on marketing, right? Getting in front of the right people with the right message and just saying whatever is necessary. And you don't just need to say one thing, you need to say multiple things, right? So let's take it one step at a time. So if you have a good product, right, you already are at the 7-figure range. It means that you already have basically customers. So one thing to focus on is email marketing, for sure. SMS and email, I would say, if possible, because you do have those people who can buy again, depending on your product. They either buy again because it's a consumable product, or the other version is they buy one thing from you, your hero product, and then because you still have those customers, you can introduce new products over time, right? So this is how you can always sell to the people you sold at least once to. And then new customer acquisition. This is where I would say I'm more involved in, because I do take care of paid media primarily, also of retention many times, because you realize that sometimes you actually need to focus more on retention because of profit, and it's easier. It's like a 30x return or 20x return on email and SMS, or should be ideally. If it's not there, red flag. And on the other end, where were we? New customers, I guess that's the other part here. And that sometimes can be tougher, and sometimes it can be easier depending on the offer that you have, the season, right? And this is where in the 7-figure range you have new customers, and you also have returning customers, and they buy differently. New customers many times might buy just if it's an offer. That's how you get them into your brand. Or usually I would say good offer. Either a discount because it's Labor Day, just like it was recently, or Black Friday, or Christmas, right? Those are some of the best times to actually acquire customers, right? Right now we're in September. Let me see, can I actually see here? No, not really. But I think we're September 12th. And that means that there's still around 2 months until you will likely prepare or launch your Black Friday offer. So still some time until then. But coming back to the steps here, you have new customers, you have returning customers. Then you have to see how to sell to both of them. And this is where you have different types of messaging, because if you got to 7 figures, or if you want to go beyond that, you will have to speak to different people. For example, let's say protein drinks, right? Because I'm a big fan of protein. Because people need it, right? It's actually a human need, I would say. Not in huge quantities, but you need it to live and flourish and all of that, right? So the thing is that you'll speak differently with a gym bro versus with someone that likes to work maybe, versus someone who has a family and so on, right? Versus someone who is old versus someone who is younger and so on, right? Like there are so many personas in here. And this takes time, right? This takes time to think about, to actually draft creatives for that, to prepare different materials in terms of either scripts or images, and then also someone has to launch those ads, as we know, on Facebook, Google's, and then someone has to actually read that data, right? So as you can see, there are multiple steps here. That's why ideally you have always on your team someone who has at least around, I would say, 2 skills. So basically, let's say the person who is on the manufacturing product side, and of course they will need to wear a lot of hats as well. Then you have someone, let's say like myself, who does paid media, but I don't just do paid media. I also do email marketing, of course, not alone, with a team, but also looking at the business side, right? So as you can see, multidisciplinary skills here. Then you have, let's say, a creative strategist. Ideally, the creative strategist in an eCom brand knows how to design as well. Then you have the designer, which ideally understands at least or knows a little bit of, let's say, psychology, or they know how to brief, right? Or they kind of understand what's the psychology behind actually putting some words on a video or an image, right? So there are multiple things to take care of, and just not to get derailed here, let's circle back to what we were talking about. So it's usually product, then making sure you get that product in front of as many people as possible, either new or returning. That's where for new you have paid media, then for returning you have email marketing, SMS marketing, and some other things, but these are the most important. And then product expansion, basically having more products, or product add-ons, it depends on what you have, or consumable, like getting someone to buy again and again and again. And that's where actually something I didn't even mention basically in this video is subscription, right? Getting someone to buy from you again and again. Just like as an example for myself, because we were talking about protein earlier. So hearing some birds here, not sure if you can, probably seeing them. But coming back to what we were talking about, which I actually forgot. We're talking about product expansion, and then, as you can see, I basically forgot, because there are so many things that you can focus on the e-com side of a 7-figure brand, right? And trying to wrap it up here, let's see where we are in terms of minutes. All right, so around 9 minutes now. We can probably finish it at 10 or 11, but it's definitely one of the most interesting, I would say, ranges for a brand to be in, because there is so much opportunity. I would say that's one of the most fun things on my end when I see a brand like this, because you can focus on either UGC content, right? More content. You can focus on product expansion, more products, or similar products, as we were talking about earlier, consumables. And let's go back to that, because I remember what we were talking about now. Consumables, right? So for example, I bought from a brand for, let's say, $10,000. It's a fitness brand, and a lot of protein, right? Probably like 5K in protein or maybe even more, and then the rest supplements. Honestly, 5K might actually be low. In the last 10 years, just to clarify, because it's a long time frame. They had me as a client for 10 or more years, and it is a mix of price, but not just price, because I did buy from other brands as well in the meantime. But the price to value plus the fact that I do like them as a brand at this point, right? Did help, but of course I won't pay any price, right? I'm not stupid. So this is where you need to be, or better said, pay attention to what you're actually doing for your customers in terms of getting them the best value. And if you want someone to pay a premium, at least they should feel better about it, right? You pay a premium because let's say, that thing is cool. Sometimes it's just about that. That thing is cool, and yeah, your friends will like it and so on, right? It's like a status symbol. But another thing is just knowing that it's high quality in terms of like actual materials, or for example, what you put in your body, right? That's super important for many people, for myself, for everybody, ideally, to some extent, because the only thing that we have is our life, our time, right? And that's something we can't really get back. But not always having to go into the extreme like Brian Johnson, right? So a balance. So with that being said, I would say that's pretty much it for this one. Mostly talking about things I'm also thinking about for these brands in the 7-figure range, because it's one of the best places to be in if you like, let's say, opportunity, excitement. Because, for example, I am not really an adventurous person who likes travel and everything, but as you can see, that excitement is fueled through other things, such as business, growing businesses, and so on. So enough yapping, I would say, for this one. If you enjoyed it, as always, you can leave a like. If you have any question, you can leave it down below. Since it's not necessarily a big channel, it might never be, because even I don't really want that. Just talking with the eCom crowd here or with people in business, so not as many overall. And with that being said, I guess that's everything for this one, and until next time, peace out.